If they move, kill them.
The Wild Bunch 1969 is a landmark American Western directed by Sam Peckinpah and co-written by Peckinpah and Wallen Green. Set in 1913, the story follows an aging band of outlaws confronting the inevitable end of the Old West as modern technology and shifting values close in around them. Renowned for its brutal realism, moral complexity, and revolutionary editing techniques, the film redefined the Western for a new generation. The plot centers on Pike Bishop and his gang, who plan one final robbery before retirement. When the heist goes disastrously wrong, they are relentlessly pursued by bounty hunters and the U.S. Army. Fleeing to Mexico, the gang is drawn into the violence of the Mexican Revolution, culminating in one of cinema's most legendary and blood-soaked finales. Upon its release, The Wild Bunch was both celebrated and condemned for its shocking level of violence, unprecedented for its time. Despite the controversy, it achieved critical acclaim and commercial success, earning over $11 million on a $6 million budget. Over the decades, the film has become a cornerstone of modern filmmaking, inspiring directors such as Martin Scorsese, John Woo, and Quentin Tarantino. Its slow-motion gunfights, gritty authenticity, and portrayal of fading anti-heroes transformed cinematic storytelling. The battle scenes remain among the most iconic ever filmed, brutal yet poetic sequences that blur the line between survival and self-destruction, capturing the film's central truth. In a dying world, there are no heroes left, only survivors. The Wild Bunch stands apart as a completely different kind of Western, not only in its tone and brutal realism, but also in its authentic and meaningful use of weaponry. In many ways, it's a pioneer, not just for its graphic portrayal of violence, but as one of the first true gun films. The use of semi-automatic pistols, pump-action shotguns, and Browning machine guns in the movie represents the shift from the romanticized gunslinging of the Old West to the mechanized, industrialized violence of the 20th century. Let's begin by examining the weapons used by Pike's gang throughout the film. The members of the Wild Bunch, most notably William Holden as Pike Bishop, Ernest Borgnine as Dutch Engstrom, Warren Oates as Lyle Gorch, Ben Johnson as Tector Gorch, and Jamie Sanchez as Angel, are all seen using .45 ACP Colt M1911 pistols, except for Tector. During the film's production, however, .45 ACP pistols were notoriously unreliable when firing blank ammunition. For this reason, the production often substituted 9x19mm Star Model B pistols, which cycled blanks far more reliably. This substitution was extremely common in films from the 1950s to 1980s, where the Star Model B frequently stood in for the Colt M1911. In the film, the Star can be distinguished from the Colt by its slightly smaller size, its barrel shape, and its external extractor. At one point, the German officer working with General Mapache remarks that the Wild Bunch are carrying these pistols, noting that such weapons cannot be legally obtained by civilians. Historically, however, this would not have been accurate. By 1913, when the film is set, the M1911 had already entered the civilian market. Released in 1911 as the U.S. Army's new service pistol, it was simultaneously made available for public sale, as there were no federal restrictions on civilian firearm ownership or distribution at the time. Government regulation of firearm registration and licensing did not emerge until the 1930s. The M1911 appears throughout the film in multiple key scenes. It's first seen in the film's opening payroll robbery, notably in Pike's hands. Later, the pistol appears when Angel shoots his ex-fiancée, when Lyle fires into the wine barrels, and again in the climactic final gunfight, wielded by Pike himself. The Colt M1911 is also seen in the hands of several Mexican soldiers throughout the film. The members of the Wild Bunch also use the Colt single-action Army revolver chambered in .45 long Colt, a weapon seen throughout the film in the hands of several characters. The revolver appears prominently with Pike during the train robbery sequence, and again near the end of the film, when Deke Thornton, played by Robert Ryan, takes Pike's single-action Army from his holster. In the same scene, Dutch is also seen wielding a single-action Army, as are several of Mapache's men. Several members of the Wild Bunch are seen using Winchester 1892 saddle ring carbines. The rifle also appears in the hands of posse members such as TC and Deke, It first appears during the film's opening payroll office robbery sequence, where Deke, TC, and another posse member fire down from a rooftop at the Wild Bunch gang. Later, the Winchester is seen with Dutch during the train robbery, with Pike as the gang flees the posse and the army, and with Angel during the weapons exchange with the Mexicans. Freddie Sykes, played by Edmund O'Brien, is seen carrying a Sharps Model 1874 rifle as the gang gather after the payroll robbery. Many of the Wild Bunch members wield 12-gauge Winchester Model 1897 riot shotguns throughout the film. The extensive use of pump-action shotguns was highly unusual for westerns of the era, which typically featured only double-barreled shotguns, and even those rarely played a major role. In The Wild Bunch, however, the pump-action shotgun is used frequently and portrayed with a justified sense of devastating power. The Winchester Model 1897 appears in several key moments, including the opening payroll office robbery, the train heist, the gang's iconic march toward their final confrontation, and the climactic final battle. Additionally, during the payroll robbery sequence, Lee can be seen wielding a Winchester Model 1912 shotgun, also chambered in 12-gauge. Another gang member is briefly shown using a sawed-off 12-gauge double-barreled shotgun during the same scene. The most powerful weapon in the film is the water-cooled Browning M1917A1 machine gun. The gang acquires it after stealing weapons from the U.S. Army and later gifts it to General Mapache, played by Emilio Fernandez. The appearance of the M1970A1 model in the film is a historical inaccuracy, as that version was not developed until the 1930s. The original M1917, however, was designed and produced in 1917, just a few years after the events depicted in the movie. However, a prototype version of the gun did exist in the early 1910s, so the filmmakers likely intended the weapon to represent that earlier design. It's also probable that the production team didn't give much thought to exact historical accuracy when selecting the machine gun. They likely chose the M1907A1 simply because it was the oldest and most visually suitable automatic weapon available for filming, a common practice in westerns featuring early automatic machine guns. The weapon is first seen when the Wild Bunch rummages through the stolen army crates and discovers it. Later, it's mounted on a tripod in the gang's wagon. The machine gun also appears in an unforgettable scene where Mapache fires it wildly without its tripod, losing control as bullets tear through the air. In the film, the machine gun stands as the ultimate symbol of violence and power, a theme masterfully woven by Peckinpah into the climactic final battle, rich with symbolism. During this sequence, Tector, Lyle, and Pike each take their turn behind the weapon before dying in the act of firing it. In doing so, they consciously choose to end their lives through the very embodiment of destruction, the machine gun, embracing it as both their tool and punishment. Their deaths become a form of poetic retribution, a final acknowledgement of the violent paths they have chosen. Most strikingly, Dutch, the last surviving member of the gang, shows no interest in the machine gun. Instead, he turns his attention to dying Pike, reacting not with rage but with grief. He dies moments later under heavy fire, his final act defined not by violence but by loyalty and love for his fallen friend. This moment elevates one of the film's most profound themes: friendship, loyalty, and deep brotherhood amid brutality and chaos. It's a powerful emotional counterpoint to the film's violence, and nowhere is it expressed more effectively than in the Wild Bunch's legendary final scene. During the arms theft sequence, the gang also acquires hand grenades, which Dutch later uses in the final shootout. While the exact model is difficult to identify, the grenades appear to have a pineapple design resembling the Mark I fragmentation grenade. However, the Mark I wasn't introduced until 1917, several years after the film's setting. In addition to the single-action army, 3 other revolvers appear in the film. Pat Harrigan, played by Albert Decker, carries a Colt New Service M1917 revolver chambered in .45 ACP tucked into his waistband. The same model is also seen in the hands of a lawman who shoots Deke in the shoulder during a flashback sequence. In another flashback, a man uses a Colt New Service revolver to shoot his wife and wound Pike in the leg. The Colt News Service M1917 also appears later in the film, wielded by a Mexican soldier during the scene in which Angel shoots his ex-fiancée. During the gang's first night in Agua Verde, one of Mapache's soldiers holds a Smith & Wesson Model 10 revolver chambered in .38 Special on Angel. Interestingly, this revolver, originally designed in 1899, has seen continuous service with police and military forces for over 120 years, from the early 20th century to the present day. The third revolver seen is an Enfield No. 2 Mark I, chambered in .38 Smith & Wesson, used by a Mexican officer. The appearance of the Enfield revolver in the film is one of its most significant historical inaccuracies, as the weapon did not enter production until 1930. In the film's final sequence, Commander Moore, played by Fernando Wagner, and later the woman who shoots Pike, are both seen wielding 9x19mm Luger P08 pistols. Throughout the movie, a large number of Springfield M1903A3 rifles appear. These were used to represent the earlier M1903 Mark I model, which was originally introduced in 1903. The rifles can be seen in various scenes and in the hands of multiple characters. For example, during the payroll office robbery sequence, Coffer and Tector use them, as well as the Mexican soldiers from whom the Wild Bunch later steals their weapons. Some genuine M1903 Mark I rifles are also seen used by U.S. Army troops and Mexican soldiers. Additionally, several of the Mexican soldiers are shown with Mauser Model 1936 rifles chambered in 7x57mm Mauser. Although this particular rifle wasn't produced until 1936, in the film it is meant to represent the earlier Mauser Model 1910. During the payroll office robbery, Pat Harrigan is seen firing a Winchester Model 1892 rifle from the rooftop at members of the Wild Bunch. At the end of the same scene, as the gang escapes the town, one of the residents shoots a member of Pike's gang in the face with a 20-gauge Harrington and Richardson Topper M48 shotgun. Hope you enjoyed the video. Write in the comments what you thought of the Wild Bunch movie and what things and details you found in the movie yourself. Also, remember to like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, it's worth doing so. It's free to subscribe, and you'll be notified when more interesting videos about firearms and movies are uploaded to the channel.